Good morning, beautiful people. It is Wednesday, May 27th. Big day. Big day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Big day. There's a lot of momentum rolling back into the sports world. The NBA feels like it's back. And on the flip side, the MLB is going to be looking for replacement players real quick. We'll dive into the financials of why the MLB players are pissed off about the proposal of a half season and a prorated contract. And the boys are excited because there is a sport that's basically solidified the fact that it's back and going to be electric. I'm joined by everybody. At Nick Morato's here. Tone Diggs is here. Jason McAfee's here. Viva Lazito's here. Evan Foxy's here. Boston Connor's on the phones. 1-833-622-3331. Intern Mitt is here. And out getting his morning skate because the NHL is back. Ladies and gentlemen, Canadian Ty Schmidt.
Here we go, boys. Go, baby!
Let's go, boy time! Let boy time!
Yeah!
Skates on ice, sticks on puck, fans on fans. No, not going to be fans on fans. I was getting a little bit too excited there. So the NHL...
Into the board!
He missed it. Foxy missed it. Foxy missed it completely. Mitch just got cross-checked by Canadian Ty, and Foxy completely missed it. Nah, Mitch just took a stick to the chest there. Hey, great skate.
Good skate, Ty. Hey, good skate. Hey, great
skate,
shot.
Ty.
Good goal.
Ty, Nick, definitely excited about hockey being back. The host of That's Hockey Talk, going to have another episode.
Line change.
But boy, this morning, whenever it was yesterday, Gary Bettman went on to the NHL Network at 4:30. He read this entire script. Foxy's shaking his head.
I'm mad. I'm very mad right now.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was going to come in that hot. I didn't know he was going towards Mitt. I had the other camera shot set up where it was going to be wide with you, Pat, so I could get your reaction.
Wow.
I'm very upset right
Mitch
now.
just ate a stick, lost a chipped his tooth, and didn't even get captured on foot.
No.
We have 10 cameras in here,
Yes.
right? It's kind of like a Big Brother operation. Literally everything that happens here can be covered. But Mitt eating a stick, that's just tough stuff there, Mitt. That would have been a good piece of content, as was the Coach Campbell stuff. But let's get back to the hockey. Yesterday, 4:30, Gary Bettman got on NHL Network and laid out an entire plan that was basically already released to all of us. There was this bracket that was set up by insiders in the hockey world, and all these other sports were talking about making a comeback. The NBA has been talking for a while now. Would it be in Vegas? Would it be in Orlando? Now we're learning that it will be in Orlando. There's a couple different plans. I don't really like them, to be honest with you. But then the NHL came out of nowhere with this bracket, and it looked like it was going to be absolutely amazing. It was going to be a March Madness style bracket, and it's 24-team tournament, and it was all hearsay. The NHLPA voted on it, and they were like, let's vote on it. And then the NHL was like, let's talk about it. And then Gary Bettman, the commissioner of the NHL, came on like, it looked like it was like maybe 1080p. He was Skyping in from maybe his basement or his bedroom, and he laid out this entire plan about how the NHL is going to be back, and it'll be a 24-team tournament. There'll be 2 hub cities. They are not 100% sure what the hub cities are. Pittsburgh is potentially a hub city, and I would like to let everybody know that if Pittsburgh ends up hosting one of these things or half the bracket or half the conference, I will be in a hazmat suit in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, ready to watch hockey be back. Now, this is a tournament that I think the NBA should do as well. This is the exact layout that the NBA should do as well. The NBA is talking about having the rest of the regular season and then maybe a World Cup type drawing where there's tiers and then you play a round robin style to get in there. It's like, hey, let's just get right to it like what the NHL is doing here. Top 4 seeds, they'll play a round robin to see who's 1, who's 2, who's 3, who's 4. Then there's the play-in rounds, which will be best of 5, and then there'll be a best of 7 in the next round. This is something that I think the world will get behind. I've said this before. I'll say it again. Just like March Madness, even if you're not a college basketball fan, whenever you're engulfed by the tournament and there's games every single night, maybe even during the day, you can't help but get wrapped up in it. I think the NHL is doing this right, and I think the boys are going to be pumped up about potentially being the COVID Cup champions. Let's assume the Pittsburgh Penguins win because Pittsburgh is hockey time, but in this particular format, this layout, just like the NHL playoffs, which are must-see television every single year, if a team gets hot, it does not matter where you are seated. If your goalie starts standing on his damn head and the other team can't get through and there's no sign of Swiss cheese back there, sticky mitts, dangles, top ched, don't matter. You can win it all. But I think this is going to be electric. And Ty, you just got off the ice down there for your morning skate. How do you feel about this whole thing?
Pretty good. Main concern, obviously, is I had quite a bit of cement in my skates out there. So you got to wonder how many of the guys have been, working throughout quarantine and everything. But it's great to have Puck back.
I was going to go right to you there, and I heard you breathing.
Yeah, a lot more gas than I expected to be quite honest with you.
Fitness levels are a real thing, though, because hockey is a grueling sport when it comes cardiovascular, when it comes to your body. You ever look at those dudes' legs? They're massive. They do minute-long sprints on the ice. I can't even skate, so I couldn't even fathom how tough it is. But people talk about the cardiovascular training of NHL players. Now, I assume there's going to be some sort of training camp, and the guys won't be in mid-season form. But that is something I would assume that the NHL has to be worried about. Is like, hey, are our stars still prepared? Have they been able to stay, in shape throughout this entire quarantine without access to certain things? And will this tournament live up to the standards of what the NHL level of play is? And I think everybody has come out and said, hey, we're pumped up about this. We're ready to go. Is that accurate, Nick?
Yeah, and like you said, that's the easy part. They nailed the format, all right, and they got out in front of it, and it looks good.
Brilliant,
paper,
by the way. The NHL is not known for doing things right. The NHL is actually the opposite of that. They're terrible PR. They're terrible at marketing. Their sport is one that is electric, but nobody has a clue that it exists unless you have an NHL team that's worth a damn in your city. But the NHL playoffs are something that captivate a lot of people. They got the format right, I think. And the fact that anybody's thinking about doing anything else differently, the NBA, Mark Cuban conveniently lays out his entire 400-page plan a week after coming on our show. But I respect Mark Cuban's big brain. I like what the NBA has done. I think they make a lot of good decisions. They just need to do this. Just do this down in Orlando. Just have them play. You already heard Damian Lillard say, hey, I'm not going to do this. If our team has no chance, I'm not going to finish regular season and waste reps and potentially hurt myself. It's just, there's no reason to do that. And by the way, Damian Lillard, I agree with you. And the only reason why the NBA wants to potentially have the Damian and the John Morants and the Zion Williamson and the Luke is because there's a lot of superstars there. Well, then open up the tournament. Let them all in. Then let them all in. Give the higher seed ones an advantage. Let them all in there. Just do whatever you got to do. But this, I think, is the right move. 24 of 30 NHL teams are in there. Let's go ahead and make this happen, and let's get some electricity on the ice.
Now comes the hard part. You take the next 3 or 4 weeks and you go along with the proposed plan of phase 2 that they put out, where you can have informal workouts, only 6 guys on the ice at a time. Got to get through that. See how that goes.
Ty was just doing that.
Yeah, and you saw how gassed he was. So these guys, as much as you can keep in shape by yourself, they haven't been permitted to work out or skate together. So they're going to be tired. Now, how long is training camp? Is it 2 weeks? Is it 30 days? They don't know. They got to figure that out. There are tons of other semantics that come into play. Like you said, the hub cities. Where are they going to play this at?
Play in Pittsburgh, please, God. I don't know if we have enough hotels in Pittsburgh. You think?
Oh yeah, they have the hotels.
I am somebody that used to vacation in Pittsburgh. There's probably one good hotel in Pittsburgh, maybe 2 good hotels in Pittsburgh that are near
a lot downtown now.
Really?
The issue with
how come
Pittsburgh,
nobody told me this whenever I was traveling? I was staying in like Days Inns in the middle of the South Side. I was in hellholes everywhere, like literal hellholes in Pittsburgh.
I don't know. I wasn't asked.
Nick, this is Frank's fault. Hey, come stay in this hellhole that's a block and a half
yeah,
away
but it was
from.
close to where all the bars.
True.
The
Very
issue
true.
with hosting in Pittsburgh is the practice facility is about 20 to 30 minutes away from downtown Pittsburgh. That's something they're going to look at. They want everything as close and compact as possible.
And Pittsburgh is not a convenient city to travel around. No. Literally, it's not a convenient. There's rivers popping up everywhere. There's mountains everywhere. There's hills everywhere. There's tiny little roads. We got caught up on a goat trail whenever we were almost there, and I lived in the city for 18 years. I mean, Pittsburgh is not a convenient city. So whenever Pittsburgh was up here, I was like, let's go. Pittsburgh never gets to host things like this because of how tough it is to get around. But Pittsburgh is a hockey town, and they will shut down things for people to get going. And I assume that's what the NHL is looking for. Is like, what city can commit to us? Facilities, not only just ice, but we're talking about gyms, workout places, meeting facilities, everything like that. That's what they're going to look for. For me, I think the NHL is getting this right. And this is a good idea, by the way, to try to be the first real team sport to get back into this thing, because that's going to be a big advantage. Because the AFL is coming on June 10th. Yeah. Aussie Rules Football is coming on June 11th. I mean, the first people back know that the ratings are going to be massive. Know that they have a chance to potentially gain a lot of fans that they hadn't had before. They know they have a lot of exposure for their sport. And I'm not saying this is a smart strategy for people to try to exploit a pandemic that shut down sports, but the first couple sports back, the first games back, they are going to be must watch. If the NHL can make this happen, I'm pumped up for them, man. Pumped up for them.
So would it be easier? I don't know if most of these guys who are Canadian live in the U.S. already. Would it be easier just having 2 United States hub cities than having to deal with all like the international guys going back and forth?
So a rule just got opened up that professional athletes in Canada are allowed to travel to America for work as essential workers. So that opens up for NHL players, a lot of NHL players. Also Brock Lesnar in the WWE because he lives up in Saskatoon from Lebanon. So he lives out in the middle of nowhere. Got to climb up a pole to reach him because he's got no cell phone service. It's just... I don't know if that's accurate or not, but it buys into the Brock Lesnar brand. But yeah, the Deputy NHL Commissioner Bill Daley added the U.S. Acting Director of Homeland Security, Chad Wolf, a Chad, by the way, that's interesting, has signed an order making professional athletes essential workers and may travel to and from Canada without normal restrictions. Okay, so you're ready. They're allowed to just come back and forth. I don't know if having one in Canada, one in America would be a smart decision because you still got to go through customs and everything like that.
Yeah, Canada is still an issue. If they try and host something in Canada, they're still going to have to get the Canadian government because they still have the 14-day quarantine imposed. So they have to relax that from the government standpoint.
And
first.
we have seen videos of Canadians who, by all accounts, are some of the nicest people that ever exist, dragging people out of public places because they don't have a mask on and things of that nature. And I'm not saying Canada is being too harsh. I have no idea what the setup is up there, but it feels like American governors and American government is ready to get back much more than the Canadians are. So let's go to American hubs. Maybe Vegas, by the way.
Vegas is a hotspot that they think will work because of the facilities, because everything, proximity, all the hotels, the infrastructure is already there.
Well, and the MGM or whatever it was already said they would shut down for the NBA. I assume they could do the same exact thing for the NHL players. And from what I know about NHL players, they don't mind blackjack either, right? I mean, I think NHL players enjoy a little blackjack as well out there. That could be a good time. Imagine if it's Pittsburgh and Las Vegas, 2 booming gambling cities. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh.
We do have that one casino.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, it is a raker, though. Do not. I would implore the NHL boys that if this is in Pittsburgh, do not go to that Rivers Casino. You will make negative money for this run. They will take everything you have.
And then hypothetically, if they did that, you would probably see the Penguins be out in Vegas, and you would see the Vegas Knights in Pittsburgh because they don't want to have that any type of home ice advantage.
Well, that would make no sense then, right? Because the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference would be taking each other on. So how would Pittsburgh be?
Well, they're just trying to eliminate home teams from having any type of advantage, like being able to sleep in your own houses.
So the Eastern Conference will play in the West potentially, and the Western Conference will play in the East. It's like, hey, if one team has to deal with it, you all have to deal with it. Everybody pick up, move to the desert. You move to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's a very interesting thing, and it makes sense. Are they away from their families now? So here's where all these conversations go. Okay, how long will it last? If it's a best of 5, best of 7, best of 7, how long will this thing last? How long will they be away from their families? How does the testing happen? What happens if somebody tests positive? Is it a biodome? Is there now all those questions have to be answered, but it feels like the NHL is like, here's our roadmap, this is what we're doing, and everybody can get the hell out of our way. And I like that for the NHL. This is good news.
2 more things on that front. They have said they will test every night if the playoffs happen, and then they said that there is a possibility that they can do the conference finals and the Stanley Cup final in the team's home cities, presumably down the road.
Wow.
Yeah, now we have to assume that there's enough tests to test everybody every night. And then, by the way, if these stupid hockey players are taking up tests, and what if people that actually need it? That's the thing that you're hearing from all the people that hate sports. Every time sports come back and they're like, well, they'll test the people. It's like, well, what tests are they taking then? And can I take a test right now, by the way?
Yes, I think so,
I can.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So are we at the point where we have tests and we have the ability to figure it out? And I would assume because we have the ability to figure it out and we have more tests, there's a lot more cases being reported. Because if you're just not testing for it, then you never know, right? I mean, that's like the classic. If you don't go to the doctor, you never find out you have anything wrong with you. It's like, I've never been diagnosed with anything. It's like, well, it's because you haven't had somebody tell you that you've been diagnosed with everything. But the testing is obviously very vital. Cuban talked about that last week whenever he was on. Man, I'm pumped up for the NHL, though. Feels like it's maybe a month and a half away, maybe 2 months, maybe 4 months. Who knows? But I am pumped up about the thought of a March Madness Frozen Four type situation where games are happening during the day, games are happening in the morning, games are happening at night. It feels like this is a good thing for everybody, and it's good for the sports world. And once they do it, If they accomplish it, then you're going to see everybody else be like, okay, the NHL. By the way, never ever say that in the history of anything. If the NHL does it, we should do what they do. You never ever have ever heard that. But now is a chance for the NHL to be like, okay, we did this, now follow our lead. The NBA should. I think the NBA should. I like that they're having different concepts with the World Cup seeding potentially and where they're going to finish the regular season and all this stuff because you want to be able to see Zion still play and Ja and Damian and all these people. But boy, if you just flip this thing into what it is, which is an unprecedented time where things like this have never happened before, so let's just treat it as such. Regular season, it's done. Nobody cares about what happened before the quarantine anyways. You know how many things have happened since then? I mean, Joe Exotic came into our life, took over our life. Carol Baskin. And then from that point on, how many things have happened since then? Nobody even knows that season even happened. Might as well just make it a tournament and just say, this is what it is. That's what the NHL's doing. I assume that's what the NBA will eventually do. And after the break, we'll talk about how the MLB has no shot of coming back. Oh. No shot. Nope. The MLB, get your swings ready. If you were a hack-ass high school baseball player who somehow plays beer league softball and you could still get 90 feet to first, you need to think about getting in the backyard, maybe in the side yard, getting a bucket of balls and having your kid toss it up and swing at that thing. Because I think you have a chance to potentially be in the MLB because there's no way these players are going to agree to anything near that's being proposed right now, and they have to get this done in the next week or so. Mm-hmm. Shout out to the NHL. Shout out to the NFL. Owner of the Dolphins said, hey, we're going to play, just whether or not we're going to have fans. Shout out to the NBA. Shout out to the AFL, the Aussie Rules Football League, June 11th, 5:40 a.m. Collingwood
Magpies.
Coxilla's team, American, the only American down in the AFL, taking on Dusty Johnson and the Richmond Tigers, 5:40 a.m. Can't wait to watch that. I will be up for it. I will DVR it just in case I snooze through the entire thing. But I'm pumped for that. Shout out to all of them. MLB, they got some things to work out. We'll talk about that on the other side. 16 minutes after the hour, this is the Pat McAfee Show.
We have no idea how to do the subway system, but Z is doing the direction, the directing, the mapping, the planning. Well, my tell is in 10 minutes, that train should be ready. He knew his shit. He said it's going that way. This is Zito guided tour. We're not going to get a spot on the train. We should get on an Uber. This was a bad idea. This was a bad decision. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I mean, this is going to be interesting.
Are we on the right way to Yankee Stadium right now? To the Bronx.
I don't like that hesitancy.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
New York is it's a bit much. There's shit everywhere. It smells like shit. There's a lot of people, but it's a hub of industry out here, you know.
Thank you so much. Hey, let's go now, Yanks.
So what are we saying now, Kanaki?
Yeah. Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated. Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated. We the my soul, it's a gold rush. Honor and freedom, my toast up. Kicking game on the snare drum. Hard on the beat, let it bleed out like sacrifices. Cut it open, emotions. Spilling like oil and coasting. Therapy for my mental, I'm pinning a pistol and shoot down the criticisms individually. I heard the voices that told us, throw dirt on my name and wish me the worst and stole us, Shot through the heart and pray on my downfall. But Yahtzee prevail on my own. Stand on top of this. Hey, I said it was salami time. On my chest like Olympic gold. Rap it smooth on the floor like a jazz song. Witness greatness, look up in LeBron home. Remember next time for you doubt us. That only made me go.
That video you just watched, Zito ate 8 hot dogs that day. We had unlimited free hot dogs in the seats that we're in. Shout out SeatGeek. Zito said he was going to try to eat a hot dog each inning, and he only got to 8. Poor thing.
The bread, there was too much breading on those buns.
How about a fucking grand slam while we're sitting there? And that beer chug, by the way, might be the fastest documented beer chug on television. 1.11 seconds I took that thing down. I was also potentially on 50 milligrams of an edible. I was having the time of my life in there.
Do you remember we figured out how the cameras worked? Where like the red light, we're just like, oh, it's red, let's go,
All right, we're fucking on. Here we go. Hit that red light. Bing, bang, gone.
That was a
Big
playoff
win.
game, too.
Hey, it was a playoff game, and Ty loves the Yankees, so it was big for him. All right, we're back
Russell
in 5
Wilson.
seconds on radio. Fuck. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. If you're watching at the youtube.com, it's not the YouTube, drop the. It's cleaner that way. youtube.com/The Pat McAfee Show. You just saw a vlog of us experiencing our first playoff baseball game, and it was in the Bronx at the Yankees when they beat the hell out of the
Twins.
The Twins. There was this grand slam. I mean, there was a beer chug. There was 8 hot dogs. We had the time of our life. Shout out SeatGeek. SeatGeek, by the way, in live event ticketing companies are not in a great spot, but SeatGeek was our first ever sponsor whenever we decided to kick this thing off. So they hooked us up with these great seats, and we had the time of our life there. And what you were watching there, if you watch that video or you're a baseball fan in general, is something that I don't see coming back in a while.
No.
There is currently a conversation happening between the MLB and the MLBPA that is not going well. Okay, normally working negotiations and collective bargaining and things of that nature are always contentious because there's a lot of money on the line. You never hear like, you know what, collective bargaining conversations went well. You never ever hear that. That is just something that doesn't happen because one side is loaded with billionaires that are looking to keep their money in their business, and without them, the business doesn't exist, the league doesn't exist, and they know that. And on the other sides are the people who make it happen, and they know that without them, it doesn't exist as well. And although they aren't the owners, or they're not fronting the money or negotiating the deals that are creating the money or building the stadiums and things of that nature, they very much understand their importance of the whole thing. And without them, there's no that. So in a smart situation, you say, hey, we need each other. Let's go in here, shake hands. Let's figure this out because, hey, you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. But that's never how collective bargaining goes, ever. And the reason why billionaires and very rich people are very rich people is because in those said negotiations, they take a lot of pride in winning the negotiations. And now you have a MLBPA representative negotiating against somebody else. And it's getting to a point now where it feels as if the MLB and the MLBPA are not going to be able to come to a negotiation. We are to an agreement. We had Jeff Passan, the ESPN's baseball insider, on last week or 2 weeks ago. Was that last week?
I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Jeez.
Feels like last week.
Jeez.
Last week.
Yeah.
Could have been a month ago.
Could have been 7 years ago, but it was during this quarantine. And he talked about how in the next 3 to 4 weeks, so if that was 2 weeks ago, the next 3 weeks, so we're currently in the last week then, which he said this was the biggest week in the last quarter century for baseball. So maybe this week or next week. He said in the next 3 to 4 weeks, a lot of things have to happen. A lot of things have to happen. Not only do the governors have to okay that sports happen, which, by the way, check. Governors have basically said professional athletes are essential. Everywhere, even New Jersey, California, New York, where it's the worst. They're saying check. Mayors have to say it's okay, check. That has been accomplished. Then you have to figure out a way to get local television and local radio to agree to whatever the billing is going to be, because the local radio and local TV account for $2.5 billion of the MLB's net revenue every single year. So that has to be okay. So those are three things that not only did you need government, now you need local business, you need the whole thing. That has all happened. So now you need enough testing. We've gotten to the point, I guess, where there's enough testing. Then also you needed the players to agree to whatever the contract was going to be. It was prorated because they cut the games in half because they don't have enough time to do a full season, because this is cut into their season forever. So you cut it in half, basically. So then after the cut in half, the MLB owners were like, excuse me, not just half a season now, because we're not getting ticket sales. We have 7,000 games, which have some tickets. We're not getting concessions. We're not getting as many hat sales. We're not getting as many merch sales. We don't have our national deals. Bing, bing. They start going through this entire thing. So not only is it half of your contract because you're playing half the games, now we would like to drop it down to a 50-50 split, because that's only fair. Hey, let's split this thing 50-50. There's not as big of a pool as there usually would be. Even with half of the amount of games, there isn't the proper half amount of pool for us money to pull from. So we also want you to potentially take a 50-50 revenue split. The MLB players came out originally and were like, well, this is them trying to put a salary cap on baseball, which is something we've been against since the beginning of time. Everybody knows that. That's why the teams who invest in their players are normally good players, and the teams that are stuck with terrible owners, like the Pittsburgh Pirates, are kind of stuck in a cycle of doom and death and suck. But that is kind of the allure of baseball, and for baseball players, that's why there's $450 million deals. They're playing all year, 182 games are on the road. You have no idea how many throws you got left in your arm, or hits you have left, or stats, or anything like that. So now they're like, even more your money's going to drop. So then they laid out basically what the money would be. And the one, let's just look at the one that makes the easiest to talk about. A $1 million deal. Okay, now 40% of the league makes less than $1 million, but just for understanding purposes, let's go to the $1 million deal. 434% would be the MLB's proposal, or 434,000 would be their proposal on what you would make if you're originally scheduled to make $1 million this year. Okay, so then you factor in the fact that 434,000 is in the highest tax bracket. So let's go ahead and knock 50% of that off. You do some quick math. What is that?
217.
217,000. You can add a couple because it's not a full 50%. It's like 48% once you pay state, Nat Fed, all the taxes you got to pay. So they're going to make like 220,000 on what was originally a $1 million contract, which is actually only like a $550,000 contract after taxes get in there. So you can see how the players are like, well, $220,000, I was supposed to make $1 million. Yes, $220,000 is a lot of money whenever you compare it to, you know, the everyday working person. And you can see how fans are like in the middle of a pandemic. And you can see why Chipper Jones says, hey, MLB players, ain't nobody want to hear about how much money you're making. We're in the middle of a time where 38 million people are currently on unemployment. And I think that is a very reasonable thought, a very logical thought. But if you look at it from the player standpoint, they have no idea how long their careers are going to be. They have no idea how much money they'll be able to make with their arm. Now, Chipper Jones knows this more than I do or anybody else does. So him coming out against it, I think, is a big voice. But you can see why, once you start doing the math there, even the lowest, the league min, 262,000 is the proposal. That is still in the highest tax bracket. So you go ahead and cut that in half as well. So what's that, 131? You do quick math. Look at that. Hey, no calculator. Hey. So it's like $135,000 they're going to make whenever they thought they were originally going to make 280 or something like that. It is, you can see how the players are a little bit alarmed, and you have no idea if guys are on the last year of their contracts looking to get the big paycheck next year. You have no idea if guys think they could potentially blow out their arm. You cut the stats also because the games are cut in half. Their hitting records, their stats, and everything like that are cut in half. But if you're a fan and you're a sports talk show and you want something to talk about, you say, hey boys, listen. This isn't something that's ever going to happen again. And is, I think 1918 or whatever, the Spanish flu potentially came in, and I saw pictures of people wearing masks in the crowd at a baseball game and things of that nature. It's almost like do you tell them, listen, you guys just got to suck it up here? Or do you say, hey, I can understand why you are upset, because what you thought, your gift, the thing you've worked your ass off, the thing that you skipped parties in high school to get better, the thing you woke up before high school to get hacks in, whenever you were maybe into AA or in single A, when you were traveling around on a bus while everybody else was having a good time and you were living in your car, you get to this point to get to the MLB. Now in the world that we're in, you have to take at least a 90-80% pay cut. I just don't know if you're going to be able to get the MLBPA to say, okay, yeah, that sounds good to us. I don't think you're going to be able to do that. So what does that mean? That means replacement players. That means hello, Shane Falca. That means Nigel McGuinness. That means this entire operation here is potentially playing for the Pittsburgh Pirates. It just doesn't feel like that deal is going to get done. It feels like they are very far away from each other, and I don't think the MLB owners can move, by the way. They're like, we can't pay you anymore because we're already in the red, basically, at this point. We're only going to be in the red even more. This is not anywhere near the same story as it is in prior years. This is a completely different situation, and I'm not sure they're going to get done. The NHL, yup. NBA, yup. NFL, yup. The MLB, though, doesn't feel like this is going to happen. It's all because of negotiations and collective bargaining and a potential 80% pay cut for a lot of guys.
Yeah, because I assume, because the story I read a couple weeks ago was if they pay that 50% prorated and there's no fans in the stands, they lose more money, the owners do, than if they had no games at all. No games at all. But then on like the players' side, yeah, people are going to be like, well, $500,000, $200,000, that's still a lot of money, whatever. But not for these guys who are used to making millions of dollars, and that's what their life is. Like, that's what their house payments are.
And their careers are only this long, right? That's the thing you have to remember. And I know it's hard, especially in this time. For me, it's hard. It's like, hey, $182,000. Yeah, that's nowhere near what you were expecting. But the story of the season and the things of that nature, you could be able to do it. But it's going to be tough to get those players to say, hey, I don't know how many years I got left. I have no idea how many years I got left. And if somebody on that minimum salary gets maybe a cold bat, in the short season, and their career's over this, and they're like, you have to just think about that whenever you're automatically going to judge them. It's like, these guys, this is their business, this is their living, and hopefully this money will be able to last them forever. But you got to remember, 40% of them make less than $1 million. So you hear these $400 million deals, which is incredible, and I can't wait for my kid to be a lefty. Ooh. Okay, my lefty's going to be lefty knuckler.
Jeez.
He's going to be a lefty knuckler right out of the womb, by the way. That son of a bitch, and that's no shot at my fiance, but that son of a bitch is going to be throwing knucklers at the age of 3 with his left hand. I'm going to be like to his dad. I'm going to tie that son of a bitch around his arm so he has to throw lefty. But it feels like they're much further away than anybody else.
Because careers are so short, like you mentioned, and some players might not get another shot after this, do you think AA or AAA players might be like, you know what, I will go do that because this might be my only shot?
So now AA and AAA players, I assume they're not represented by the MLB PA. They have a minor league PA.
I believe so. Yes.
They're not getting paid.
Yeah, they canceled the minor league season.
Oh, so now, okay. Now you have the potential scab operation where people cross picket lines, in the strike lines, in the non-negotiable lines. And if you get a bunch of AAA guys up there, would I know the difference? Probably not. I mean, I guess a couple Aaron Judge home runs we'd miss out on. That grand salami probably won't happen. But, I mean, the owners are probably like, we can get these AAA guys and these AA guys paying pennies. They'll be in big league stadiums living the best life, and then we move forward. But then next year, it's going to be hard for any of those AAA guys that get called up to the big leagues and have to, assimilate with the majors that they just kind of screwed over a year before. It's just, there's so much to happen in this. You got to remember, these are humans making decisions. Everything on paper seems like, okay, you guys should do this. This is more. Hey, $182,000 is more than $0. That's something to think about. But for those guys, it's just like, man, I ain't doing that. Yeah. Like Snell said, I got to get mine, though. Hey, I got to get mine, ho.
Well, and like you mentioned too, like baseball's not really like football where like a guy will play like a 4 or 5 year contract and then get another big one after that. Like, it happens every once in a while, but most of the time when these guys are signing, it's like a 7-8 year deal. You're getting all your money there and you're not getting another opportunity to have like a huge contract. So if you actually play this year, you're getting a fraction of what you potentially would have pre-quarantine.
And by the way, the people that hate professional athletes for how much money they make because you played in high school and that's like your dream job and things of that nature, I very much understand that. But these are all public knowledge, which I think is a big problem in professional sports. I don't think everybody should know what everybody makes. It's kind of a problem. Whenever people can just Google what you're worth, you should see how much you get charged to fix your roof and things of that nature. I mean, it's a whole different world. But you guys should see what musicians are making. You guys hate professional athletes. Those songs you're singing to, you should hear how much them sons of bitches are raking in at a different point.
Does it help? Does it give it a chance that the MLB has guaranteed contracts?
But they don't, right?
No, all MLB contracts are fully guaranteed.
But not really.
Well, not for this year, no.
Well, that's what I'm saying. In the MLB,
but I'm saying if everything gets back to normal, then they're going to.
What if teams file bankruptcy? Then what does that mean? They don't owe anybody anything. That's just, I mean, there's so many financial things that could happen. They're saying that a lot of teams are potentially going to have to sell. Let's pray to God that the Pirates are one of those teams that have to sell. Let's hope Mark Cuban, he said he wouldn't do it because his kids are still the age. Hey, you can be an absentee owner, Mark. We don't care. Just put your money up there in your spirit, in your soul, in your goodwill, in your will to win and everything like that. But I just don't see this happening. I do not see the MLB in the MLBPA coming to an agreement, in the next 4 days, 5 days? No way. No way, dude. Especially if you see what happened with the NFL and the NFLPA. I mean, there was a 51-49% vote, and that thing, they had to extend the voting because there was people still reading through the entire thing. There's no way. You know what that means, though?
Get the bat ready.
Boys, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? What I played for the Washington Wild Things? Won 7 innings I played.
Swinging righty.
And then playing with my weak hand in the batter's box. That's the only time I've ever been on a diamond. Now I'm going to be playing for the Yankees. Oh, my God, dude. I like it. Oh, scab pitchers, too. So it's going to be terrible pitchers. It's going to be meatballs over the plate.
You and Russell Wilson together, too.
Russell Wilson won't, because he's a major league player. He will not come and play. You know what I mean? He's not going to disrespect the clubhouse or whatever. But I will. Jeez, that's my bat. Take it easy. Drop the remote over there. I will. I'll disrespect the majors. You know, if you got to do what you got to do, I'll be a fan forever.
Why not?
And I think it'd be pretty electric. Maybe let me pitch a couple innings too.
There you go.
Pitch one every 4 days or something like that.
Yep, every 5 days usually.
I can warm that thing up a little bit. What are the rules? I can't crow hop from the mound.
No.
Honestly, you should just get Tommy Johns now, and then you'll be throwing 10 miles per hour faster.
Yeah, rookie of the year stuff.
Yeah.
All right, we got to get to a break because we got Pierre Maguire, Hockey World.
Yeah.
A little bit more. Hey, big hockey show.
Huge.
Big baseball show. Talking a lot. By the way, might be a professional baseball show.
Yeah.
I already am, I guess, because I did get paid for my Frontier League baseball debut with the Washington Wild Things. But hey, I'll offer up my services in there. I'm not going to go spring training or anything. I'll show up on games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're a ball player.
Yeah, I'm a game player.
Yeah.
I'm a gamer. I'm not here for the practice and the sprints that you're running. I'm going to be out of shape too, by the way.
You've been getting your work in back here.
Yeah.
82 games. I'll find a way to get in shape by game 80, 81. And then when we go for that playoff push, just know I'm going to be dinger after dinger after dinger. Pierre Maguire's on the other side. A lot of people in the hockey world don't like him. I'm going to ask him why that's the case. I also talk about this 24-game awesome tournament idea they got. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Every once in a while during our commercial breaks on the radio, we like to dive deep into the annals of the most beautiful place of the internet, the YouTube comment section, for some YouTube question.
YouTube questions.
Zito, what do we got?
All right, coming in hot from Grant Duncan. He says, who's hated more, Joe Buck, Roberto Riveron, or Rob Manfred?
That's interesting because Joe Buck, I never understood why people hate him. But since his name was just mentioned, the comment sections are about to get toxic already. Joe Buck does not deserve the hate that he gets. It's just strictly because he is the voice of their favorite team, their fanatic fanhood. And he's potentially has to say something negative about the team when something goes bad. And he's in the World Series, he's in the NFL playoffs, he's doing Super Bowls. So Joe Buck is put in a position where he's going to be hated by some people regardless. He's like a politician almost at this point because he has to deal with people's emotions on a daily basis. Rob Manfred is an absolute stooge. We all know that. I didn't even know the guy existed until he came out and called the trophy a piece of metal. And that was obviously at 6 a.m. Jeff Passan told us that's something he regrets, but he looked like a stooge through the whole Houston Astros thing. Now he's going to have to negotiate with the MLB players. This is not going to go well. Probably not going to look good for Rob Manfred after this. But when you talk about Alberto Riveron, you're talking about America's sport, right? NFL playoffs average 30 million viewers, okay? 30 million viewers. That's just the playoffs, let alone the Super Bowl that has hundreds of millions of people watching it. And Alberto Riveron had a direct effect probably on every single one of those fucking teams losing. That is a guy that you can't take the biggest passionate group, which is NFL fans in America. I mean, they're just a passionate group. And then you are potentially affecting a direct result with your decision making and your ineptitude. I would say Alberto Riveron's probably the most hated guy out of those three, if I had to guess. I don't like it. He's probably a good guy in person. He's just terrible at his job. That's just
he affects the game too.
Directly affects the game. He takes a timeout potentially from a team if they take a challenge. Could overturn a 50-yard. I mean, he directly affects the game, and now he's directly affecting the future of the game because Troy Vincent came out and said we're getting rid of the pass interference review because we handled it wrong last year. It's like no, you didn't handle it wrong last year. One person handled it wrong last year. Everybody else seemed to be on the same page with a majority of those calls, except for the person that was in charge of making the actual decision. So I'd go with Alberto Riveron there, Zito. Great question, though, from the comments section. And that's why we do YouTube questions.
YouTube questions.
Hey, boy, Z. Way to go, Z. Hi, Pierre. Hey, good to see you, man. I've seen you on the television. I cannot wait to talk to you, okay? I'm from Hockey Town, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so I'm obviously a diehard Penguins fan. We'll be back from our radio break in like a minute and a half. You cool with that?
Absolutely. Thanks, Pat.
Oh, you're a beaut, pal. Hey, you're a beaut, pal, okay? Hey. Oh, man, I can't wait. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here Wednesday, May 27th. Our guest joining us now is one of the voices of the NHL. You see him in between the glass. Yep, that's accurate. Ladies and gentlemen, on NBC, former coach and scout. Now a man who knows everything about everybody that puts on skates. Ladies and gentlemen, Pierre Maguire.
Yeah, Pierre!
Hey, boy, Pierre!
Woo! Hey, Pat, really nice to visit with you. Nice to talk to a Pittsburgh guy that went to West Virginia and kicked a few balls. That's good.
See, that's the thing about you, though, is you know everything about everybody, and I think that is something that is very, very important in your profession especially. But I do believe you're put in a position where it's like a no-win situation because you build up a lot of players that a lot of people say, oh, he hates my team, he doesn't like my team. It feels like you have an interesting relationship with the NHL fan base. Am I accurate in saying saying that?
I think that's probably fair. My biggest thing is I want to support the players that play in the game. The venues are unbelievably difficult to play in. Obviously, as you know, you've been at the highest level. But I think the biggest thing is celebrate the journey of every player that gets there. They don't get there by themselves. More time than not, they got a lot of people to push them and help them, and try to celebrate where they came from, how they got to where they are, and how they stayed where they are.
Well, I think you do a great job. Now, granted, out here in Indianapolis, we only get like one game a year every once in a while. It's a Blackhawks game. I wish the NHL would kind of expand a little bit. Did we lose Pierre?
Not at all.
Okay, well, you just dropped off screen. So sorry about that. I think great Wi-Fi on you, Pierre. You're picture perfect at the moment. Speaking of picture perfect, it feels like the NHL has put together a roadmap that I think is the best out of all the leagues have put together. This 24-team tournament with 2 hub cities, it feels like this is what the NBA should be doing. This feels like it's a really good idea out of the NHL. What are you hearing about the likelihood of this happening, and how long should we expect this to take until we roll this out?
Great question, Pat. Number one, it is a roadmap. It is an idea. I wouldn't say that it's a perfect plan because we don't have a start date, we don't have a finish date, and we don't have the pods yet. But the truth of the matter is, I think it does work out really well when you look at it. The fact of the matter is, if you look at the top 4 teams on each side with Boston, Tampa, Washington, and Philly, they've merited those opportunities. And on the other side, the defending Stanley Cup champion St. Louis, Colorado's an up-and-coming team, Dallas, those teams, Vegas, those top teams really belong where they are. But I think the biggest thing, Pat, when you look at it, this is more of a plan that has to have some finish to it, if you know what I mean. We need to have a starting date. We need to have a finishing date. We need to have the cities in play. And there are a lot of collective bargaining agreements, Pat, that still have to be answered to in terms of compensation for players, in terms of how many people can actually attend from the teams. I mean, there's a lot that goes into this.
The MLB and the MLBPA are nowhere near an agreement, and it revolves strictly around the cash. And then you listen to the NBA players talk about it, and the NBA players are not about, it's not about the money, the revenue that they're going to generate, because they see this as an opportunity, I assume, to not only steal the show because everybody will be watching this, but also as a brand builder, and it's good for the NBA, it's good for the league. When LeBron and Russell Westbrook and Chris Paul and the stars of the league come out and say, hey, we want to do this, let's make this happen, it's a much different world than when Blake Snell's on his Twitch saying, we ain't going to do this, and Bryce Harper says, I agree with him. What have the leaders of the NHL, the players, let's say Sidney Crosby, greatest player to ever play hockey in the history of hockey, in the history of everything like that. Ovechkin, you go through it. What are the stars? Marchand, I guess. What are the stars playing? Because we haven't heard much from hockey players, which, by the way, is normal. They don't talk much. But what are the players thinking behind closed doors? Do you know?
I do, actually. Some are thinking that they really want this to work and they want to come back. Others aren't so sure. I would tell you this, the guys that are probably in the most tenuous position are the guys that are potential unrestricted free agents. And there are about 25 of those that are big names that you got to wonder, and I haven't heard one way or the other from them, but you have to wonder if their representatives are saying, whoa, let's slow down a little bit on this, because you rush players back into conditioning shape, you rush players back into high-profile games with a lot of intensity, maybe those potential unrestricted free agents get hurt, and maybe they're not as valuable as they once were. The one thing I'd say in defense of Commissioner Bettman and Deputy Commissioner Daley, their first priority, number one priority, is the well-being of the players, and I mean that sincerely.
I saw that on his plan yesterday. The first bullet point was player safety and health is paramount, I believe was his actual words, which I think is the right answer. But he is also the first commissioner to come out and say, hey, this is what we're trying to do. The NBA, Adam Silver has been very hands-off. He's like, we'll make this decision later. We'll make this decision later. Not a lot of commissioners have come out and said, hey, this is what we're trying to do. Was this a leverage play by Bettman for the NHL and the NHLPA to kind of negotiate a deal, do you think? Or is this something that he really feels as if it is going to be able to come to fruition?
Well, some people speculate that, Pat. There's no question. So I think you're onto something there. But I think, quite frankly, Commissioner Bettman really sees this as an opportunity for the league to take another step. Remember, the NHL's big television partner is NBC. NBC doesn't have the Summer Olympics. So what's the perfect way of having a programming situation that works well for NBC that still has another year left on their contract to put hockey into that Olympic time slot? And you'd have 3 or 4 games a day from all these different venues, or the 2 venues, I should say, and that maybe fills a void programming-wise a little bit, at least for NBC. So the one thing I'd say is the NHL and NBC and the NHL have been amazing partners over the last 15 years. Phenomenal partners, Pat. But again, I can't stress this enough. Gary Bettman is an amazing problem solver. He's not a little bit good, Pat. He's really, really good when it comes to problem solving.
Okay, so you just answered my next question because I said I'm not even a college basketball fan, but when March Madness happens and I'm engulfed by college basketball, I'll watch because I can gamble on it, because I kind of see stories start to build and things like that. You guys in the NHL and NBC and everybody are seeing this as like a morning game, afternoon game, night game until we get to how many days rest in between games? What is the thought or projection you think? Not that this is, obviously you're not abiding by law here if you say this, law-abiding statements, but what is the projections of how that tournament will look?
From what I was told, there'd be 3 games a day in each venue. And so there are only 2 venues. And so that would make a lot of sense. And I think they'd probably like to have it all wrapped up in a 2-month period. So let's say we start in July, you maybe finish in September, and then you could open up the league again in November to start the 2021 season. And it's critical that we have a full 2021 season with fans back in the building. Our sport, unlike football, I'll use football example, you're an expert on that. You guys, even though gates are important, you have a lot of television money. We don't have nearly the television money. We need gate receipts. And if we don't have people in the building, that's a problem for hockey.
Well, that's going to be solved by, I assume, government officials. I don't know if Gary Bettman's going to be able to figure that one out, even though he is a problem solver and probably will be talking to the government and part of that commissioner committee and things of that nature for the 2 hub cities that are being chosen. We learned earlier from rumors on the internet, NHL Rumors Daily, NRD, the guy's pretty good. But the 2 hub cities, let's say Pittsburgh gets it because it's hockey time, and let's say Las Vegas gets it because Las Vegas has already said that they would host the NBA. A casino or 2 has already said, we'll shut down everything. You can do this whole thing. Feels like Las Vegas is a home run, but let's say Pittsburgh is the other one. Will they have the Eastern Conference play in Vegas and the Western Conference play in Pittsburgh because they don't want any type of advantage for who had to travel for more and less?
Yeah, that's something that they are talking about right now because remember, Toronto's one of those hub cities too, potentially. So is Columbus, so is Dallas. So it would be very interesting. I think one thing they have to look at is time zones, really important. So Vegas matches off in the Pacific time zone, obviously, and the Mountain time zone for game watching. Columbus, Pittsburgh, Toronto, they match up really well in the Eastern time zone. So that's a positive. So I think everything's still fluid. But that's why I said when you started out the show, I thought really poignantly by saying, hey, you know what, this is more of a roadmap and an idea than it is an actual finished plan because we don't even know the hub cities yet, Pat. We really don't.
I think it's a good idea, though. If the NHL is the first real sport, I don't say real sport. I apologize to all the other sports that are currently happening. But if they're a team sport, the NHL can get eyes on their product from a lot of places that don't normally see it. And I would assume Bettman, NBC, and all the people with big brains are like, hey, let's do this. Last question before I let you go, and I can't thank you enough. Why is Sidney Crosby the greatest hockey player of all time?
Well, he's not the greatest player of all time. Wait a second. Mario Lemieux could be that guy. Bobby Orr could be that guy. Wayne Gretzky could be that guy. But he's in the discussion. He's in the discussion, Pat.
Okay, so Ovi's the best goal scorer on earth right now. Maybe ever.
For sure, he is the best goal scorer.
Maybe ever.
Yes, absolutely.
But Sidney's the best player on earth right now?
I can't do that. See, when I was fortunate enough to be part of the Penguins, we won 2 Stanley Cups. We had a guy that wore 66. He was really good. He was really good.
He was, and so was Jaromir Jagr and Tommy Barrasso and Francis. I mean,
one of your guys would have been Ulf Samuelsson. I know, just because.
Oh, loved Ulf, pal. Hey, Pierre, big fan of your work. Love the sport. Can't thank you enough. Nick, do you have a question for Pierre McGuire?
Yeah, Pierre, in terms of best players on the ice, we just talked about that, but why is Mario Lemieux possibly the best human of all time?
There we go.
Just a gamer, gives back to society, cares so much about people. He's a cancer survivor. He's just an amazing man. It's a privilege to call him a friend. I just love hanging with the guy. He's a pretty good golfer, too, but more than anything else, he just cares about humankind. He really does. He's an awesome human being.
All the players and coaches, you guys have a real respect with everybody, huh?
I do, yeah. I really respect everybody that does it, and I respect everybody that coaches too. You don't always get along with everybody, but at the end of the day, you got to measure up, talk to people. You really do.
Do you have any beef with anybody? Is there any noted beefs between Pierre McGuire and any players or anything like that?
Not that I know of.
That's good. How about that puck that almost got you right in the face? I don't know how that does.
I'll tell you this one, Pat. My vision was saved by Dan Girardi, who just retired this year. He's the guy that yelled, "Look out. Look out, duck." And he wasn't talking to just me. He was talking to the whole Columbus bench as well. It was a great display of sportsmanship because he's a great defenseman that saw that puck coming. I was watching Columbus stretch out the zone against Tampa, so I wasn't even watching the play. But as soon as he said that, I just stepped back a little bit, and because of that, I got saved.
Well, Pierre, we appreciate you putting your face in the line of duty out there for the sport of hockey. We can't wait to see it get back. Can't wait to see you work. Ladies and gentlemen, Pierre McGuire, thank you for your
Thank you very much.
That was awesome.
Thank you, Pat.
Okay, so a lot of questions still in the NHL front, but that is a very optimistic viewpoint, I think. He said players are on the side of it. There's a couple players that maybe have little business things that they're going to have to tend to that might not be for it. They seem like they're coming back. The NBA seems like they're coming back. Okay, the NFL is going to happen. Is college football going to happen? I think there's a lot that has to go into that, but boy, the MLB is all the way out. Hour 2, we got the Sanchez, Mark Sanchez joining us. We'll have some phone calls from 1-833-622-3331. Not a bad Wednesday, May 27th. We can't thank you enough for joining us. We know you can watch or listen to anything else. The fact you're letting us penetrate your ear holes and eyeballs, we thank you so much. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
I told her about it. I was like, you have expectations of the New York subway. Don't worry about it.
I can hear that roar from the crowd. It's from Pat McAfee. This environment is electric. We just walked in here, and I'm expecting some magical stuff to happen here this evening.
The guy who lost, he's been arrested and reported 13 times.
A baker's dozen is a lot of times to get caught doing something wrong and going to jail. It's almost kind of nice to see that Russian kid play bongos on his face there, but it's been awesome this evening.
As a former NFL player, who's the guy that you think would be pretty good in the ring?
The only name that came to mind was a guy named Robert Mathis, okay?
Yeah.
Robert Mathis, not only this incredibly tough man, but the way he utilized his hands as an undersized defensive end. The human cockfighting world is one that I am very intrigued by. The amount of training, the amount of discipline, the amount of strategery, everything about it. The dude's got cinder blocks attached to his wrist. I think tonight is going to be a big night against Tarasenko.
I was going to say it 3 different ways.
Tarasenko. But I just think Triple G is such a magnetic fighter, and that's why this place is lit up the way it is. I was told not to blink, keep my eyes open. I brought Visine, I brought the vitamins, and I am expecting something awesome to happen.
The winner by unanimous decision.
Getting the
Hey, wait, are we on the screen
They're
right now?
on the big screen at Madison
In
Square
Madison
Garden.
Square Garden? Hey, mama, we made it.
Morning, beautiful people. It is Wednesday, May 27th, and it's a great day to be alive. Maybe today, take a moment to look in the mirror and say, hey, you handsome or you good-looking son of a bitch or daughter of a bitch, you look good today. And let me tell you why today's a good day. NBA, coming back. How's it going? How you doing? NFL, coming back. How's it going? How you doing? The MLB, not coming back, but maybe you, that person in the mirror, has a chance to play professional baseball at a major league level because they're going to be looking for players because the MLB and the MLBPA seem to be nowhere near in agreement. But one thing we do know for certain, kind of, Gary Bettman went on television yesterday at 4:30, the NHL commissioner, and hockey's back! Yeah!
Shattered his hip.
Long-term IR.
Let me just roll back to my corner.
Busting the tailbone.
Hey, pal. The question.
Busted my tailbone, boys.
The question. Yeah, you should keep your helmet on.
I'll keep it on.
Yeah, you for sure. The at Nick Moraldo's here, Ten Diggs is here. That was Canadian Ty Schmidt, who's pumped about skates being back on the ice and pucks being back on the sticks. Hey, pal, didn't expect the wheels to kind of get loose on you there, huh? In the celebration of the goal.
Well, you know, we got the ice-like foundation right here, and then going to the carpet. I was not ready for it. Again, a lot of cement in my skates still. Need to get that out of there.
We talked to Pierre Maguire in the first hour. He is one of the voices of the NHL. He talked about the cardiovascular conditioning.
You want the replay?
Yes, please. If
Just
we can
the
run
best.
that thing. We had a goal. He scored a goal. Dead. Dead. I was coming over to celebrate with your teammates, by the way.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
No, you literally jumped away from me. I was coming to celebrate with you, pal. I thought Canadians were supposed to be happy people, friendly people, team people.
Well, what you did not see was I was having quite a bit of trouble standing up while I was waiting for you to come to me. So I was trying to get off the ice-like foundation as quick as possible.
Oh, my God. This is the dumbest show of all time. That's how we announced that the NHL. That's how we announced that hockey was back. Right there, we had a man wear a football helmet and rollerblades and jump off of the stage.
Back, baby.
Shout out to the Blades, by the way. Hey, pal, how do they feel?
Oh boy, my dogs are barking. My feet hurt so bad, pal.
Quite a scrapper you had out there. Jason McAfee's here, Viva Lazito's here, Evan Foxy's here, and on the phones, Boston Connor. Boston has to be feeling pretty good about the Bruins. Potentially, they're in the hunt for the round-robin tournament there for the number 1 seed overall, but they are automatically in the tournament, obviously. How do you feel there as a Boston Bruin fan?
Feel great about it. Feel even better that Pierre Maguire threw Bobby Orr in there as one of his goats.
Yeah, Pierre Maguire is hated by a lot of hockey people because he seems to know everything about everybody. He puts everybody over, which means if you put one person over, you don't like another person. I think he was pretty good on the show. I enjoyed him a lot. Good conversation with him. Former coach. He was with the Pittsburgh Penguins, won a couple cups. Former scout. Now he is in between the boards and almost lost his eyeball with a puck hitting him in the face. Intern Mitt is here, by the way. Shout out to Mitt. Great first hour, huh? How are the notes looking? Pretty good?
Yeah, looking really good.
By the way, Mitt came in sober.
Yeah.
One day,
Theoretically.
One day.
If the MLB and the MLBPA get a deal done by the end of the week, that would be very surprising.
Yes.
But the fact that Mick came in here a little bit sober, maybe the most surprising thing of 2020. And that a pandemic happened and people have been locked in their house for 2.5, 3 months at this point.
What's this, the first time in, 2 months for Mitt, was
At
it,
least.
did he say?
I mean, we don't even know what he was doing before quarantine, whenever it was more acceptable to be out publicly drunk, and things of that nature.
You're right, he was at college, so it's probably been, 6, 7 months maybe? September?
What year are you?
I'm a junior.
Yeah, so it's probably, three full years gone at this point. So this is the first time in 3 years. And we would just like to say we are proud of you here.
Yeah, big time.
We are. Maybe you think you'll be able to read his notes at the end of the
No, his shakes are so bad already.
No, sober Mick can read. Monday was one of the worst exhibitions of reading I've ever seen in my entire life.
Multiple times.
Let's get back to the sports talk. The NHL being back is awesome. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. But Pierre Maguire alluded to it in the first hour. There's a lot of things that have to be settled. They haven't even got into the collective bargaining thought of this whole thing, which is where the MLB has been held up at. The MLB had numerous plans. First, it was a biodome plan. Then they're like, no, can't do that because the local television, local radio are such a big revenue. It has to be played in the cities and in the states, in their home stadiums. Then governors opened up. Then mayors opened up. And then there was conversation about the schedule and the shortened thing. Then they got into the collective bargaining, and it was like a screeching halt. It was like when Ty hit the floor, everybody hit their asses and things were just over. The tailbones blown out and the ass fell out of the potential comeback trail for the MLB because of the collective bargaining. The NBA, all their star players basically want to come back, so I would assume the collective bargaining is going to go much smoother, although that never happens, than the MLB is happening. The NHL hasn't even got to that point yet, which could be a bit alarming for those that are reading the roadmap. And maybe Bettman did this as a leverage play so that if the players hold out on this, they look like the bad people, as opposed to Bettman, who laid out this electric 24-team tournament with 2 hubs that everybody, even if you don't like hockey, would enjoy. And if the players say, no, we're not doing it, they look like the bad guys. But there's a lot to be done, and this is a roadmap, Nick.
Yeah, like we said earlier, this is the good part of the plan, right? They put out the good plan first to get the good pub, which was smart. Now you get into the CBA, the collective bargaining stuff. The good news there is most of the league has already been paid out. Most of the guys are only missing 1 paycheck from the 12 games of the regular season that they missed. The playoffs, as you know, it works like football. You're getting bonus checks there. So they just got to settle on how they'll compensate them for that.
Let's go. Yeah. Let's go. Woo-hoo. That means they're going to be back. They talked about how the gate means a lot. Ticket revenue means a lot. The NHL won't be able to control that for some time. The government will let them know if they're allowed to have people in the stands. Indianapolis governor or mayor can't be a governor of a city. Our mayor here, Hogsett, who has been very poor in the pothole department. Okay, I will say he's blown out more than probably 2,000 to 3,000 tires around the city. He has been tasked with opening up a city, by the way, which is not an easy thing. A lot of mayors, I assume they get in there, okay, we'll handle the trash in the potholes and maybe allocate some funds and all that stuff. But now dealing with a pandemic and businesses going out into foreclosure and bankruptcy, and now you have to roll back into this whole thing, it's probably a difficult thing to do. And I would assume that our mayor here in Indianapolis, because the entire state of Indiana around Indianapolis has been open for, I don't know, a month. Maybe it feels as if the businesses haven't been able to come back except for the last couple of weeks. But the world around Indianapolis has been rather moving and grooving. It's just been the city of Indianapolis that hasn't been able to move. The mayor has come out and said, hey, starting this Friday, basically things are going to start back opening up and things like that. And I think, to be honest, Indianapolis has been pretty stringent on what businesses are allowed to open for the amount of cases that our state has and the amount of cases that our city has. I think Indianapolis has been pretty strong on that. He's come out and said, hey, we're going to open things back up. That has to feel pretty good if you are the NHL, whenever you're trying to figure out how you get that ticket money, which is a large part of your revenue each year, because maybe this means, and this leads to the fact that we'll view the coronavirus in the future to potentially solve the flu. We know how to potentially solve the coronavirus, just as they treated AIDS or things of that nature, which at one point was shutting down an entire community in an entire country. Maybe that'll happen, but I don't know the knowledge of that on how long it'll be before fans are allowed back into arenas and stadiums. I have no idea if anybody knows that, and I don't think that is even something that you can hypothesize at the moment.
Pierre mentioned the TV deals, kind of. If Pittsburgh's out in Vegas, are they going to only have to play morning and afternoon games? Just because if they're playing that late game, 10:30 East Coast, they'll probably miss out a lot of ratings.
Yeah, they would have to do it in a smart fashion. That's why the time zone thing, if Pittsburgh was to be a hub city, and they sent the Penguins out because it's a disadvantage to everybody else that Pittsburgh gets to stay at their own house. I don't know. There's a lot to figure out, but I like that Bettman just said, yeah, to hell with it. I'm going to go out and say we did it. Do we know when it's going to be? Nope. Do we know how long it's going to take? Nope. Will they have their families? We don't know. Will the players agree to this? Nah, who knows? How will it work? Where will you host it? But are you doing it? Yep, we're doing it. I love that. That is, by the way, that type of person that does that is not normally the person that becomes the commissioner of a professional sports league. The person that's just like, we'll do it for sure. How are you going to do it? Not 100% certain, but yeah, that's what we're here for, to figure it out.
Cross that bridge when we get there.
Normally, the people that become commissioners, right, they are the best at dotting the I's, crossing the T's, playing it close to the vest. And they're not giving anybody any information until it's 100% certain. Bettman's come out and been like, we're doing it. To hell with everybody.
I think he saw a little gap. I think he saw an opening where he was not going to be the most hated guy in sports anymore. With Rob Manfred slipping up with that trophy thing, I think he was like, all right, here's our chance. Let's get the news out here now. I want to be liked for once.
Hey, I'm gonna go down into my my basement, okay? Give me a Dell computer that has like maybe a standard def camera. I want bad lighting, make it yellow lighting. I don't want to make it good lighting. Put me on NHL Network at 4:30, which is prime time for a lot of things. 4:30, that's a good time. And I'm going to read off how we are getting back into this thing. I'm going to be a hero on Tuesday, May 26th. And I'll tell you what, son of a bitch did it. He's a hero in my eyes. I love Gary Bettman after that thing yesterday. Yeah. And I love that the NHL is coming back. Let's get to some phone calls here. Alex in Indiana, what's going on, pal?
Pat, what's up, man? How are you?
Not too shabby. Hockey's back. Hey, skates on ice.
Hey, skates on pucks.
Hey,
boys.
Hey, Paul. Hockey time.
Hockey time. I just wanted to say that this show is absolutely electric. You guys are the next Spotify deal, man. You guys are on the come up. I'm so excited to see where you guys go.
No. Hey, just like I said to Herbert, by the way, with his whole loyalty to Nike and Nike not giving him a deal, we will take a multiple $100 million deal from anybody.
Oh, yeah.
And not, by the way, won't sell out to the Saudis. Just won't let that be known.
No.
Won't sell out, won't go to any foreign organization.
$200 million right now.
Won't do it. Won't do it.
Take a stand.
America!
Anyways, it would be cool if that was to happen to us with Spotify or let's say Apple or let's say Google or let's say any of the other big companies that are going to get Amazon that are going to get into the, hey, we need to acquire as many things as we can because all we're trying to do is get people onto our app. And guess what? We want them to stay here, but we don't want to play the music right. So if it was audio and podcasting and shows, that's a lot better because then it's just somebody talking as opposed to the music that normally is being used. There's a lot to happen, but I appreciate you saying that. And that would be a massive honor to get a few $100 million.
That'd be nice. Be awesome.
We'd have a real hockey rink out there, by the way. This morning, Ty would have actually been on. He would have been on the ice this morning. We would have had Pierre Maguire standing in between the actual glass. What do you want to talk about, Alex?
For sure. So I think Indianapolis is such like a slept-on host city when it comes to major events. I mean, we have the Combine, we have the NBA All-Star Game coming, men's Final Four, and then the CFP Natty coming. So I just want to know what you think that the X factor is that Indianapolis has that secures these huge sporting events in our time.
Here it is, Alex. Here, and great question, by the way. And this is kind of what started a beef between the city of Indianapolis and the state of Indiana and Yahoo, because a guy from Yahoo Sports, I think you broke the ice over here. By the way. Yeah, I can't even. I mean, it's starting to peel apart over here with you. Hey, boys, hockey's back.
You need to get the Zambone out there for us.
I think this is what started the beef with Indianapolis and that Yahoo guy who said that the NBA All-Star Game being in Indianapolis next year is basically like he said it was terrible or something. Who would ever want to go to Indianapolis and everything like that? The thing about Indianapolis is the things you see on television that we host, whether it's the Big Ten championships in football and in basketball, the Final Four in men's basketball and women's basketball, the Combine yearly, the Super Bowl was here every single week. Now, obviously not during the quarantine. We have this massive convention center also that just takes over with thousands and thousands of people coming into our city basically weekly. And the Indianapolis 500 has 300 to 400,000 people come into the city every single year. And the reason why Indianapolis is so good is because everything is conveniently located. Everything is walkable. Everything's clean. The stadium is connected to the convention center, which is basically right across the street from all the restaurants, the bars, and the hotels. Everything is walkable. And the humans of Indiana, Hoosier hospitality is a real thing. It's a host city, and the people take a lot of pride in that. Whether it's the bartenders at the bars, the owners of the restaurants, the waiters, the waitresses, the servers, everything like that, the people around town, it is a very welcoming city. And that is why you see so many massive events being hosted in a city that you would never expect, Indianapolis, Indiana, because this city is literally and figuratively built to host things, and Hoosier hospitality is a real thing. And I think that's a pretty accurate statement for people that aren't from here, like me, that come to Indianapolis. You're like, damn, everything's walkable, everything's connected. You can be in a 70,000 seat stadium, take a 4-minute walk, and now you're in a convention center that can house tens of thousands of people. It's just every single year there's something. What's that what's that nerd fest that comes in here?
Gen Con.
PopCon, Gen Con come through here, and the entire city shuts down with humans in costumes. You go to a club during these things, and you think you're at a furry convention. They're just getting after it down there with little costumes on and stuff like that. But the clubs turn in for it. The restaurants shut down for it. I mean, it's just the city is ready for people to come. And by the way, that's a city that you should be looking for when you're talking about hosting or hubbing this NHL playoff. Like Las Vegas is a host city. That's what it is. A lot of people come into town. They're good at shutting down restaurants. They're good at moving things like that. Pittsburgh has never been known as a hospitable place or an easy to navigate place. But if Pittsburgh is potentially a home spot for one of these conferences, I'm going to be there in a hazmat suit. That is just what's going to happen. So that's why Indianapolis gets all these contracts, I do believe.
Yeah, it's great for one weekend.
Come on, Indianapolis is the crossroads of America, Tony. Come on.
Diggs lives here. Diggs lives here. It does get it.
I kid.
No, but there's differences. There's differences. When you go out in Pittsburgh, it's all Pittsburghers out. So you know what's going to happen. Okay, a lot of Italians are out. There's a lot of affliction out. You know, about 2, 3 a.m. You need to keep your head on a swivel out there. That's what when you go out in Indianapolis, you have no clue where these people are from. It could be the future farmers of America that are waltzing around town. You have no idea. Out there in Iowa, they're just a slew of blue jackets just stumbling around. It's like, what the hell's going on? Oh, the farmers are in town this week. And then a week later, Black Expo's happening, which is the largest African American expo that happens in America, happens in our city. It's just like the diversity of what hosts here in India. And then the Indy 500 is a bunch of literal cars that go 7,000 miles an hour with a lot of European and foreign influence. There it is. Hey, bingo there, Diggs. Influence. But then in the infield, you have 100,000 17 and 18-year-olds at a rave. It's just the diversity and the ability to house and host everything in Indianapolis is why Indianapolis is a real great host city. And I wish they had more ice rinks, because I do believe this would be a great place for the NHL to potentially have a hub, because hotels are all conveniently located. Restaurants are conveniently located. If somehow they could just put up some rinks on the roofs.
You probably could, right? Like, they don't need like a massive stadium at all. They just need the actual ice rink itself, right?
Because it's not about the fans anyways.
Exactly.
It's not like, hey, there's any diehard fans here in Indianapolis of hockey, which I think this place would love the NHL if they had a team that was worth a damn. Like, if the team sucked, it's like, okay, you keep it moving. But if it had a team that was worth it, I think this city would love it. It'd be nice if maybe we just build a couple rinks and then we pitch Gary Bettman. We're like, how about Indianapolis?
Yeah. I mean, they're Seattle's the next expansion team. They're open to expanding. So,
how much is the team?
Seattle was, I think they had to pay a $500 million fee just to
we're not there yet.
Get the rights to a team, and then
all right, we're not there yet.
So on and so forth.
Good to know, though. Got the number.
Got the number.
Got the number.
Write it down. Write it down.
Write
If
it down.
I would like to pay a hockey team $500 million, $500 million. Okay, that's more than what Rogan just got paid, and Rogan got paid for 3 years. I heard it's a 3-year deal. I heard what the number is too, by the way.
Really?
A little bit more than the projected number?
A little bit more. A little bit more. It is good for Rogan. Deserves it. Worked his ass off. Trailblazer. That is what Joe Rogan is. He is now the blueprint, by the way, and has been the blueprint for a long time. Also, the Barstool Sports folks, $450 million valuation. I think Dave should buy the XFL, by the way. Yeah, I think that's what I think. Literally this morning, as I was scrolling through, Vince McMahon said he is not a bidder currently, and he said that was inflammatory. He did not like the fact that people thought, in a business ethical standpoint, that he was going to buy the company that he claimed bankruptcy for from his own personal account as opposed to his business account. He's not doing it. And I guess it was, I thought to myself, I'm like, oh, this has Portnoy written all over it. I would love to see him show up at the auction in his sweats from Davey Day Trader. Just comes fresh out there. I would like this league. Excuse me. I like this entire league. That would be electric. 18 minutes after the hour. Have to go to a break. We have Mark Sanchez joining us here in about 11 minutes. We'll talk to him about all things happening in the NFL. Stephen Ross, owner of the Dolphins, has come back and said the NFL will be back. The question now is, how do we handle the fan situation? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. We're back on the other side. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
Tour bus, scream loud that you knew us. Deep down, I'm the new plug. Yeah, about to get to dust. Pete's brown when they crew scrubs. Sweet sound from the two subs. Beats loud as a move, bruh. Lead the crowd like, ooh, what? Long hair on the big body. 210s, both sitting shoddy. Cracking fits, start getting rowdy. Blowing nose, looking like an Audi. It's Uncle Sam without the taxes. Crowd stands up, I keep them loud. I made this beat, you hear it smacking? Who is 30? Hand me a nap. You probably wasn't expecting this. Expected this?
One fucking page.
I don't have to worry about the coronavirus anymore.
Like a fucking bomb went off. It's like, dude, I saw there was the fucking net. Oh, dude, what's going on?
Everyone's a comedian, right? Steve Jobs used to dip his feet in toilet water randomly.
I bet they still smelled better than yours. Yours
a
woman?
I
Are
can
you?
see Tony's brain cells just exploding into thin air.
Do you think that steer ever looks back at you and goes, son of a bitch,
Is that when you
you
tie
got
the legs?
big one."
I'm sold. I'm in. He got me.
Suck it. All you guys.
Jame, duty, match.
These guys got in there, undid their suitcases, just dumped all their. Well, you have to remember.
Well, yeah, not for me.
What's the matter with
Jeez, son of a bitch, can I not get the alcoholic cowboys? And, babe, it's time to go to war.
Welcome to the pod.
Everyone needs a great pair of wireless earbuds, and you already know Raycon earbuds start at about half the price of any other premium wireless earbuds on the market, and that they sound just as amazing as the other top audio brands you know. Their newest model, the Everyday E25 earbuds, are their best ones yet, with 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a nice noise isolating fit.
They really do. It kind of cancels out all the noise from outside
That
because
is
of how it
awesome.
fits in your ear hole. Yeah, it's really nice. I love the Raycon E25 earbuds.
Raycon's wireless earbuds are so comfortable, perfect for conference calls, videos, chats, or binging podcasts.
Oh, binging podcasts.
Yeah, binging podcasts.
Oh, like the Pat McAfee Show 2.0. For any part of this show that you potentially miss, you can download the podcast, Pat McAfee Show 2.0, or The Pod, which is a podcast of all the boys and myself just talking about aimless, reckless things.
Good plugs. Yeah. Unlike some of your other wireless options, Raycon earbuds are both stylish and discreet with no dangling wires or stems. You've heard me talk about how a company was co-founded by Ray J and celebrities like, Snoop Dogg, Cardi B, Melissa Etheridge, Brandy.
Oh, yeah.
Taylor Smith.
Melissa Etheridge. We're a big Melissa Etheridge show.
Huge.
To my window, I'll be home soon. Remember when dudes used to just stalk women and stand outside their windows and throw rocks at them and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That used to happen like very regularly.
Classic old-timey move.
Do that now, go to jail.
Nah, here's a rock. Come outside.
You see? Well, maybe let me.
Get 15% off your order at buyraycon.com/Pat. That's buyraycon.com/Pat for 15% off Raycon wireless earbuds. Buyraycon.com/Pat.
Hey, good work there, dude.
Thank you, Tone.
Thank you.
Atta baby Tone. Russell Wilson, Megan Rapinoe, and Sue Bird will host this year's remote ESPYs. A lot of people saying could potentially be the most insufferable batch of hosts in the history. I'm not saying that.
No.
I did not say that.
No.
I love Russell Wilson. I am a big fan of the way Megan Rapinoe turned the Randy Orton celebration into her own celebration during the World Cup run, and kind of, by the way, put the United States women's national team on her back there is what everybody's saying. And then Sue Bird, obviously her and Megan Rapinoe live together, so that's an easy thing for the Zoom ESPYs or whatever they got going on. But everybody is saying they're not 100% sure this is anywhere near their top 3 for athlete hosts. Excited to see what they pull off. Excited to see. I was at one ESPYs, no big deal. No big deal. I was at an ESPYs. Hey, no big deal. Hey. Drake was hosting that particular
That wasn't a bad one.
Drizzle was very good.
Pretty
That
good, yeah.
was a good show.
Yeah.
That was a good show. That was right after that racist guy for the Clippers, the owner.
Donald Sterling.
Donald Sterling did his whole, terrible racist stuff, whatever he was doing, which, by the way, sick of whites doing. Okay, anytime whites make terrible decisions and do very dumb things, all of us whites get lumped together. And I want to let you know, we hate those whites just as much as everybody else hates those whites. And I think we as a society hopefully get to a point where we all, embrace each other in a proper fashion. What's going on in Minnesota, that was one of the most sad things I've ever seen in my entire life. I hope they give them murder because it's just dumb. It reflects poorly on cops that try to do the right thing and on whites that are trying to make this a better world. One dumb ass stooge kind of ruins that entire thing. But when I was at the ESPYs, not one, by the way, it seems to be happening on regular occasion, and those people need to disappear. They just legit need to disappear. Well said. It's real too. That is a very sad. I think it's Steven Jackson is related to George Floyd, I believe. Yeah. So this is just. It's unbelievable. We know Steven Jackson, so it's stupid. It is a stupid, terrible. It's just everything you could say bad. That person needs to be charged with murder. It just. Whatever, get them in jail. But when I was at the ESPYs there, that was right after what's-his-face came out that he was incredibly racist. What was his name?
Donald Sterling.
Donald Sterling. So I was potentially one of the only Caucasians in about a, 30 to 40 radius, or foot radius in the ESPYs. I was up near the front or whatever. And Drake did a whole thing called Sterling Never Loved Us. Do you remember that? Sterling Never Loved Us, or Sterling Didn't Love Us, or something of that nature was the performance. And then it went to a hard commercial break, and then Drake walked off. Then the lights come on in the theater, and there's like an eerie quiet, and I'm one of the only whites in the area, and I just look around. I feel like there's a bunch of eyes on me. Almost had to stand up and be like, hey, Sterling didn't love me either. Like, can we talk about how that guy has a lot of hate in his heart, and he hates a lot of people? And then he did the whole side chick thing. Drake did an entire side chick thing, and there was a couple players with their families around me who I believe were getting peppered by their significant others about who was potentially in the back. Drake put some people in some situations out there, and I think that makes a great host, by the way. I liked when Drake did it. I love when Peyton was the host. I thought Peyton was a great host. I think, by the way, Peyton displayed that even more so at the match too. I'm not sure anybody on earth who said, you know what, give me Russell Wilson, Megan Rapinoe, and Sue Bird. But hey, we could all be wrong. Yeah. Can't wait to watch it. It's going to be different anyways because of the whole Zoom thing. We have to get to another radio break because we got the Mark Sanchez joining us. This guy, friend of the show.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Last time he was on, we had him talk about something that he doesn't normally talk about. And I think we potentially got over a mental hurdle with him. About, hey, sometimes in life things are bad going to happen. You just got to take it head on at some point and get past it. Last time I think we did that. Now this time we talked to him about football, about quarterbacks, about life. Maybe what's going on with Cam Newton, Sanchez? If you were Cam Newton, how would you feel? How'd you feel if you're Cam Newton? You see Joe Flacco is not even going to be ready for the season getting signed to the Jets. Mike Glennon getting signed to the Jacksonville Jaguars. and you're just hanging out, flexing on the internet, knowing that you're about to be all the way back. We'll talk to Sanchez about that, Josh Allen, and many more. This is the Pat McAfee Show. During the break at youtube.com/the Pat McAfee Show, we'll be taking calls, maybe answering some YouTube questions. Come join us over there. We'll see you on the other side. Wait, is Sanchez on? It's a little early, isn't it? He's going to have to just sit here for like 5 minutes.
So it's a Zoom call, so he's in the lobby. He's just here waiting, hanging out.
Do we just start this conversation with Sanchez, and then we just, whenever radio comes back, we just act like it's the first conversation? Good. But then I'll have to recycle what he said in the first couple answers because they'll probably be good, and I'll have to do it all again. So I'm not 100% sure what to do here.
Tell him not to say anything.
Is he on there? Is Sanchez on there right now?
Yeah, I'll put it on your screen.
Sanchez.
Yo.
I don't know what to do here. We got to oh, my God. You look amazing again. You look amazing again.
What's up, Pat? Come on. Say what's up.
Who's this? Who we got around here? I won't swear, I guess. What's up, buddy?
Oh, hands.
How you doing?
Those are movie quality.
Hey, listen. When you become a little bit older, okay, you put a hole in that hand right there, okay, and then you put something that looks like a funnel. Oh, okay. All right. That's on me. That's why, can't be around the kids. What's his name again? I'm sorry, I was speaking over you there.
Daniel Joseph, DJ.
DJ. How old is he?
3. How old are you?
3.
Are you more athletic than I am already? Yeah.
No.
I like that kid.
How old are you?
I'm 33.
Whoa.
What do you like to do, DJ? What are you into over there?
What were you watching?
I was watching Paw Patrol Lucha.
Paw Patrol.
Nice.
Oh my God! Hey, Paw Patrol shut down the theater down here for like 2 weeks straight. What is it? Somebody just walked in here. I don't know if you know. Somebody's in your house. There was somebody back over there. Yeah. We must protect this house. Paw Patrol shut down a theater. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. There you go. They sold out like a theater like 50 times or something like that down the street. They just go on the road.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They shut it down. You'll probably have to take DJ there at some point. What is that there? You stretching?
No, I'm just doing.
Oh, okay.
Just doing.
Hey, that
I can wait to go do your bit for 5 minutes. I can wait.
Well, this is the bit for 5 minutes.
Oh, we're already on.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, by the way, you've done great.
I'm back.
Is that normal? Is this like, why will this look carry past quarantine? I hope so.
Probably till about June 1st when everything opens up here in the Wild Wild West.
And then you're just going to shave it off?
It's got to go. Should Dad shave his mustache or keep it?
Say no, DJ.
Keep it?
Yes! Woo! Yeah! Kid's got a big brain on him. Look at that hair, by the way. That hair is next level on him.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, DJ, what sports you like, bub?
I play sport of basketball.
Oh!
I didn't shoot the ball, so I am.
Oh,
Slamming,
yeah. That's Boston Connor and Evan Foxy shot in here, too. There's a lot of those types of shots.
Swish.
Yeah.
What about when you hit the ball like that? What sport is that?
Baseball.
Baseball. Oh, look at him. Look at him. How's his stance? Yeah, DJ's a lefty when he hits.
Nice.
Me too, but I hit righty.
Hello?
No, did you just say hi?
It's an interesting situation here, Sanchez, because I only played baseball one time in my life, and it was for a Frontier League team. It was a minor league team. And I didn't fully know if I was a righty or a lefty, so I just went righty because that's where I golf at. I got on base, obviously, 333 on base percentage. But I think now, looking back on it, I'm actually a lefty. I think I'm much more comfortable on the left side of the plate. So I'm going to have to get back.
You can't golf one way and hit a baseball the other. You do them the same way. It's like hockey and everything. They don't change the way they hit.
They do, though. They
no,
do.
They don't.
They do, Mark. How many hockey players you know, Mark?
All the hockey players who hit righty hit a golf ball the same way. You're not going to go opposite.
You don't know, Mark.
You might be a left-handed hockey player, though.
Yeah, I'm a left-handed hockey player, though. I'm a righty golfy, left hockey, left baseball, I think.
Well, one of them's off, and it sounds like golf then is off.
Don't you judge me, Mark. It's 2020, okay? I'm allowed to do whatever I want from wherever I want.
That's true. You're right. Look at me. I mean,
you should carry this look beyond. I just want to let you know.
It's so bad.
There's still a human running around in the back of your house.
Know yourself, heathen.
Yeah, no, it's behind the bar. Behind the bar. Behind the bar. Look behind the bar. We got 10 seconds till we're back. Can't wait. Thank you for joining us, Mark.
Of course, buddy.
Nobody swear. There's a kid around. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here. Wednesday, May 27th. We're being joined by a man who led the Jets to the AFC Championship game and was a stallion on the football field for the USC Trojans. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest mustaches quarantine has ever seen, Cowboy, the Sanchez, Mark Sanchez.
Yeah! Woo-hoo! Thanks for having me, fellas.
Mark, you look fantastic. Thank you for joining us. Quick question about the state of Mark Sanchez. How is lockdown quarantine in California? The last time we got to see your pool, it was one of the most beautiful views I've ever seen in my life. How is the lockdown in California at the moment?
It's a little gray right now, but that's normal. May and June, you get the June gloom and May gray.
Oh.
But burns off around noon, and then it's, high 70s, low 80s, beach weather, pool weather. Waiting for sports to come back, man. It looks like we got some traction on the NBA, so that's nice. But, I feel like the NFL is getting the benefit of watching all these other sports go through stuff. And by the time it's, football season, they're just going to roll right through it and make it happen.
The NFL is going to ford the river for sure. They don't know how they're going to go about doing it. Stephen Ross has already come out and said, we're going to play games. We just don't know if they're going to have fans or not, which seems to be a government decision. Then you look at the MLB, the negotiation between the Players Association and the league. That is not going to happen. There's a potential I get to play for the Yankees this year because I think they want to have a season, but the players aren't going to play. But let's talk about, were you born and raised in Southern California?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you played at USC, born and raised in Southern California. This name, image, likeness thing that's coming to be. If you were at USC when you were, or Leinart, or back whenever USC was relevant, how big do you think this name, image, likeness thing would play in for the USC Trojans?
It's huge. I mean, the market is so big. You just feel like, well, then it's unfair to certain guys, because you're not the starting quarterback at SC. Let's say you're maybe a tackle or a defensive player that's a solid player, but you're not going to sell as many jerseys, so then you don't get the revenue. Well, it works like that in the NFL too. It works like that all over sports. So, I mean, it's just kind of a free market system. The other thing, though, is what's frustrating to me and a lot of these players now. Let's say you play water polo for USC, you play soccer for USC, and you're on the U.S. national team. And in the summer, you want to have a little clinic. You want to do a little soccer clinic in your local neighborhood. You want to put on a little water polo, whatever, exhibition game or something. And you can't charge kids by using your name, image, and likeness on your Instagram. You can't put out an ad saying, hey, sign up. It's $25. I'll teach you what we do with water polo. I'll teach you how to do some drills in soccer. And you can't use that, and you just want potentially a gold medal, or you medaled in the Olympics and you play in college, and you can't advertise that to do a little summer camp. That's crazy. But as soon as you open up that box, it's on. And then it's just a free enterprise, free market. And now, boosters are going to be paying kids to come speak at their golf club and their tournament for $20,000. I mean, think about it. You don't think Kyler Murray could have got $20,000 from some guy in Oklahoma that wants him at his golf club? For sure he can. So it's just going to be a totally different landscape. But I feel like everything after this pandemic, you told me 6 months ago this is going to be going on. You're going to be wearing a mask and gloves to go get gas in your car. I would have said you're crazy. But I just feel like anything's on the table now, especially after the world went through what it went through.
Well, Reggie Bush is currently caught up in a misquote out of context thing. And by the way, there's a guy that lost his Heisman because of an alleged name, image, likeness, receiving cash so his family could have an apartment. I don't remember the exact story. I'll be intrigued to see how it all plays out. And I didn't plan on asking you that question, but then as I remembered that you have lived this perfect life out in Southern California, I just thought about Reggie Bush there. Let's talk about the NFL a little bit. Let's pivot over to the NFL a little bit. There's a quarterback out there in Cam Newton who just saw Mike Glennon get signed to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who by all accounts have gone all in with Minshew being their guy. They're bringing in Glennon to be a backup. Then you see Joe Flacco get signed to the Jets. He's not even going to be ready by the time season kicks off, if season kicks off at the same time. If you're Cam Newton, what's your mindset? Where do you think he potentially ends up? And is there a chance he sits out this year as a guy who's a former quarterback in the NFL at a very high level?
I don't think he sits out. I think every year, and it's unfortunate, but especially because of the way this offseason has gone, the chance for injury is so high. And you're not hoping anybody gets hurt. You're not predicting anyone gets hurt. But usually there's anywhere from 3 to 6 on a high year of quarterbacks who go down, just starters, whether it's in training camp, they twist an ankle, they bust their thumb on a helmet. I mean, something always happens, right? So he's going to get a chance. It's just how long is he willing to wait for that chance? And will he be ready when he gets that opportunity? I think if I'm him, I would have thought the Chargers would have been a good landing spot for him, but they shored up their quarterback room, so they're out. But look at a place that has somebody coming back from injury. Get him in Pittsburgh, man. That's a place listen, you got to understand the dynamic of Cam, too. He's not just bringing a player. He's a personality. He's a big personality guy, and that's what fuels him. That is what makes Cam, right? A lot like, if people are like, well, maybe if he was a little more humble. Well, if Floyd Mayweather talked a little less smack, he's not Floyd Mayweather. So I don't want to hear it. That's just who he is. And he's a baller. He was an MVP. So go to Pittsburgh. He can handle it. Tomlin can handle him. Tomlin handled AB and Le'Veon Bell for a couple years.
At the same damn time, by the way, and Roethlisberger.
So if anybody can handle it and anybody has a strong enough starter, I'd go to Pittsburgh.
Okay, so the alleged stories out of Pittsburgh is that they don't want to bring in another quarterback that Ben Roethlisberger views as potential competition because they want to go all in with Ben here. They want him to feel good and empowered and things of that nature. Whenever you were done, what was the story when you decided to retire? Were you injured? I don't remember how it ended with old Mark Sanchez.
I ended in D.C. and had a couple opportunities in TV and just thought, it's kind of the route I'm going. I feel like I played for a while. I got my son, who was at the time had just turned 2. And for me to go away for 6 to 9 months every year wasn't the ideal situation for me at home. And so I get a chance to be a dad, get to be around sports, and had a good little run. But it was the right decision and the right timing for me.
When you went into the NFL, did you expect success? Yeah, I would assume you're number 5 overall pick. You had to expect success. But the success that you had in the New York Jets franchise that they haven't had since, and they didn't have before that for a long time, I think to a lot of people in the NFL world was a bit surprising, especially whenever you mix in the fact that Rex Ryan was the head coach, which nobody knew what was going to happen then.
Well, we had such a veteran team, and that's what's difficult, for a guy like Sam Darnold right now. He's going through this Sanchez went to the AFC Championship twice. It's like, well, we drafted at a way different position. We had a secure offensive line. We weren't building an offensive line like they are. We added skill players right away. We added 3 Hall of Famers to our team in my first 2 years that set the mood in the locker room. They handled everything. Coach didn't have to say much to the team other than get us fired up like he did, but everything else was handled. Nobody was late. Everybody took care of their business because we had a veteran team. Right now, they're still building something for Sam. And if you look at those last couple games last year, he was easily one of the best quarterbacks in the division last year, and he's playing his butt off. They just weren't playing for anything yet. So it's difficult, and I went a different way with that question. But when I came in, you're in that rookie bubble, right? You don't know what's what, and you're just head down and playing. So when we go back-to-back AFC championships, sure, we had our ups and downs in those years, but you just don't – that just becomes normal, right? So the third year when we didn't make the playoffs, it was like the end of the world. It was the first time I wasn't playing into December, January with a bowl game in college or deep into the playoffs. And so we were done right after New Year's. It was the weirdest feeling. And then we got so much heat from the media. It felt like everything was over. Like you just ruined everyone's life, So it was, that was one of the toughest off seasons for me is trying to handle that adversity. And then when we started playing the turnstile door and adding a bunch of free agents, changing everything up every year, and it became difficult.
Consistency is such a big deal for a team to have success, and that's not just because the players know each other, but it's also the chemistry of the locker room, which is a massive X factor. I'll never forget, we played in the Super Bowl my rookie year. We beat you guys, knocked you guys out of the playoffs. I didn't do anything, to be honest. I had 2 tackles. Hey, give your kid his Hulk hands back, all right? Dad of the year. But whenever we lost the Super Bowl, it was the most miserable locker room I'd ever walked into in my life. I've said this before. The most miserable place I've ever walked into before was that locker room after we lost the Super Bowl. In my mindset as a rookie, I was like, God, we'll be back next year, dude. Like,
right.
What are we
even?
Yeah,
don't worry about it.
Hey, guys, cheer up. We're going to be. We did not. A couple years later, we were almost completely defeated because of the structure and organizational change and things like that. How important is it for us to withhold judgment of a quarterback if they're in a situation that is obviously not ideal for their success? Because I believe that if a quarterback is in a bad spot, there's a chance that their career, no matter how good they are, is not going to be worth a damn. Am I accurate in saying that? Not just quarterback, every player, but the organization is such a big deal.
It's every player, but especially at that position. And then you got to add the psychological part of it, the perception part of it, because that perception now, especially because of cell phones and social media, like guys get those opinions immediately to their phone in the locker room, and that becomes what they think. That becomes like, oh, well, maybe this guy isn't a starter. Maybe he's better as a backup. Maybe we should draft so-and-so, So those things leak in the building, and the best organizations have a good system in place to try and block out all that noise. And it is hard, man. It's hard. But you look at what's encouraging about some of these young guys, and when we were texting about the AFC East last night, Josh Allen, Stidham, those kind of guys, the Patriots, they're set up very similar to when Tom came in and played. They got some veteran guys. They got guys who won a bunch of playoff games. I mean, that kind of experience is crazy. There's nothing that can make up for that. Those guys have all of them have a little chip on their shoulder.
You think the Patriots are going to be good? You think the Patriots are going to be good next year, huh? Yeah, you do.
It's them or the Bills in the East. It's them or the Bills.
Brian Flores is not going to be happy to hear that. They've been.
Why? Tell me why not.
Well, I just think that they're
going to run. Dude, they have 3 really good running backs, right? Burkhead, Michelle, and give me the other one, James White.
Yeah, White.
Right?
Sweet feet, White. Right?
Tell me their skill players aren't the best or second best in the division to Buffalo.
Okay, well, let's talk about that Buffalo team that you're talking about. And we're talking about the tweets and the texts and getting into the building like maybe this guy isn't the starter. I think that is why a lot of people are scared to bring in Cam Newton as a backup quarterback because as soon as somebody struggles, let's say it's Josh Allen, because it was linked that
they're calling for him. They're calling for his head. Yep.
Bingo. And Brandon Bean came on our team, came on our show, GM for the Bills. He said, we're empowering Josh Allen to say, hey, this is your team, right? But going into his 3rd year now, he made a big jump last year. Going into his 3rd year, I feel like Bills Mafia is expecting him to be a much better quarterback than he was last year. When he was good last year, much better than he was his first year. I think Bills Mafia is going to expect a lot out of him. And if they were to bring in a Cam Newton or something of that nature, there's a chance that they're calling for that guy. And I think that stinks for Cam Newton that he's so good, but that's a reality of the situation.
It's the reality of the situation. It's the way the quarterback market was this year. It was oversaturated. And he's just in a tough spot at a tough time. But when you're that good of a player, when you have that kind of determination, something usually good happens. I mean, the guy was the MVP of the league. He took his team to the Super Bowl. He's got serious talent and serious potential, and he's got something to prove right now. So he's a dangerous player that he could step in and do something pretty serious. But you go to Josh Allen, and I know the bar has been set pretty high. They get to the playoffs, all this kind of stuff. It's really a couple decisions with the football, especially late in the game against Houston.
That
ball
pitch
comes out, squirts out a little bit. He takes a couple hits that you don't want him to take. If he takes a handful less hits, takes care of the ball maybe a handful more times, we're talking 10 total plays. 10 total plays. And this dude's QBR, the perception of him, the way things will just get going. And look what they did for him. I mean, they got some good running backs now. They just drafted the kid from Utah who's a baller, Moss. They got Singletary, who kind of took over for LaShawn McCoy's role. So they got a serious catcher out of the backfield, a guy who can catch 40, 50 balls easy. And if he can rely on a guy like that, use his legs when he has to, and stop taking those big hits, even though he's a big body, Your best ability is availability.
Bingo.
Do not get hurt. You cannot get hurt, right? What did Tom Moore say of Peyton Manning? He said, why did the backups didn't get any reps? He said, because if Peyton goes down, we're effed. We don't practice that. Right? We don't practice that. So you're not getting any reps, backup quarterback. Peyton, stay healthy. Josh Allen, stay healthy. Keep balling, but stay healthy. Take care of that football.
If 18 goes down, we're anyway. Tom Moore, legend of a man.
So good.
Josh Allen, the big problem that he has, and Michael Lombardi comes on our show and he drops his stat all the time. He was like 1 for 700 on deep balls or something last year. How easy is that to adjust as a quarterback? Can you get better at that? Like, let's say you bring in a Stephon Diggs who is a real deep threat. Can you get better at that type of thing? Is that something you can get better at?
Got to practice it a bunch, especially with that kind of guy, and practice all the situations. Like, is this a cover 2 whole shot deep ball, or is this just put everything you can in, run under it? What exactly are you trying to get out of these deep balls? And then go back and look at some of the stats. Like, around 40 yards and 5 yards from the sideline is when they're usually caught. That's like kind of average and pretty solid. Look at some of the best deep ball throwers. You're not completing more than 25-30% of those balls. You're completing all these balls underneath. Okay. And then you take your shot. Even if you go 1 for 4 on deep balls, as long as you hit your other, if you go 15 for 20 on the other ones, who cares? Who cares? You might have a big splash play down the field, but if you're consistent, look at Drew. He's not completing balls 50, 60 yards down the field. They might for 50 or 60 because of who he's throwing to. But those balls are getting completed under nice like that.
He's really good.
You got an impression for everybody. That's good.
Well, I just get, I get a bit antsy over here. As soon as I got ADD too, so as soon as you say somebody's name,
no, not you.
The first thing that pops into my mind is what happens. Before we let you go here, and we can't thank you enough for joining us. Tom Brady, incredible golfer, obviously showcased that. Did you watch the match? What were your thoughts? Peyton Manning, legendary stuff.
I saw some of those. Charles Barkley is one of the dudes around. I mean, you and Charles Barkley should do stuff. You should commentate on everything.
I would like to let Charles Barkley know I would like to work together at some point. If Turner wants to back a Brinks truck up, that absolutely. Sanchez, thanks for setting this up.
I'm going to need a cut of that. I'm going to need a cut of that.
No, get your little cowboy ass out there to Southern California. Ladies and gentlemen, Jets quarterback, USC All-American. What a stud. 5th pick overall in the draft. 5th.
Yeah, and we beat you my 2nd year. Knocked you out of the playoffs. I forgot to tell you.
Get him out of here.
Mark Sanchez.
Mark.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Mark. Good guy, by the way.
Love Sanchez.
Yeah. Big fan.
Very handsome, obviously, very successful, very wealthy, and very cool. That's not an easy thing to pull off.
The man.
Being a quarterback in New York, New Jersey has to be tough, too, especially when you're Sanchez. And Rex, by the way, is calling for the spotlight to keep coming, too. Yeah. Rex Ryan deserves another head coaching gig, I believe. And Mark Sanchez deserves a little bit more credit for the success he had with the New York Jets. He was right, though. That team was getting built up for him. Some of these quarterbacks get dropped into a bucket where it's like, yeah, well, good luck out there. Go win us some games, pal. And it's like, well, it would be nice if maybe you protect me, I don't die, somebody to throw to, maybe a coaching staff that knows how to win, maybe an organization that can help me out a little bit off the field. Is there any chance of that? No, that's why we drafted you, bud. Go ahead and take care of that. Very interesting situation.
That's like Joe Burrow. There's a good chance that he's probably going to be playing under a different head coach next year, right?
Yeah, no, we don't know. Hey, you don't know if that guy, Zach Taylor, he had a cup of coffee, with Sean McVay or something like that. That's how he got the head coaching gig. Yep. Everybody thought Miami's trying to lose. He went out there and did it. Benched Dalton on his birthday. I mean, who knows if he's a good coach or not. But they got better this offseason. True. Maybe the Bengals will be able to win. But it should be noted, they do not have an indoor practice facility.
No, they don't.
Maybe Joe Burrow can turn that around. We missed an ad read. We missed a Zito read, which is kind of tough. I'm kind of bummed out about that.
Manscaped, America. I crumpled it up already. Get 20% off free shipping with code America at Manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at Manscaped.com. Use code America. Your partner, your body, and your balls will thank you.
Lawnmower 2.0 is the best. Lawnmower 2.0. Big thanks to Pierre Maguire. Big thanks to Mark Sanchez and all of you for listening. Radio, we're about to exit. We will see you manana. Same Pat time, same Pat channel. This has been the Pat McAfee Show. All right, here we go, YouTube. Zito, maybe your best ad read to date.
I know. I did not miss one word.
You did not.
Perfect.
From where you started reading, you did not miss one word. Ladies and gentlemen, we have instituted something because we have an intern here. We don't like interns here, but we have an intern here. His job is to remind us of everything that we talked about today, because once we leave this building, in this studio, normally I forget everything that happens in here. Call it a zone, call it forgetfulness, call it vitamins, call it what you will. It does happen on a regular basis, and that no longer happens because we have a friend named Mullet Mitt who reads the minutes from the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Mullet Mitt's minutes.
Come on, Mitt.
Let's go, Mitt.
Good luck, Mitt.
Sober.
Come on, Mitt.
Sober Mullet Mitt's minutes.
Bingo.
Here we go.
All right, huge hockey day for the boys here. We got the NHL coming back. Canadian Ty had to get some cement out of his skates. The NHL decided to scratch the finishing of the regular season and getting right to the COVID Cup. We have an electric format here. We have 24 teams with 2 hub cities. We talked about the possibilities of Pittsburgh, Canada, Vegas. Testing is going to be very vital upon the return.
Canada's not a city.
Canada's not a city at all.
It might as well.
No, but he knew that.
Might as well be.
What'd you say?
We have phase 2
glasses.
coming.
Cool glasses, dude.
Oh, cool glasses.
Thank you, Mullet Mitt. You're doing a good job.
The question was posed, NBA, where the hell are you at? We had a big shout out to the NHL, shout out to Aussie Rules
Excuse me,
Football
let's
and
go
the
back.
National
What's he
Football
doing?
League.
Let's go back.
What's he doing?
What happened with the NBA?
We're asking where the hell they're at.
Where are they at?
Where are they at?
Where you at on your plan?
Well, they're in 30 different cities. They're in 30 different cities for sure. Where are they? They're in Orlando. But what's going on with their plans? What are they doing? Where are they at? Maybe we did say that, Mullet. That was a really good job by you.
It's a good
Kind of
question.
out of context
Good
the way it was
question.
said, but it
Yeah.
was. Yeah, it was good.
All right, well, we talked about the MLB, and that's a completely different story. They're looking like they are not going to have a season.
Bingo.
The executives need the players just as much as the players need the execs, but they are obviously not on the same page.
Obviously.
The roads are all cleared governor-wise, and I lost my place.
Oh, no. Lost your job too, bum.
Nice glasses.
Cool glasses.
Hey,
Cool glasses.
Thank you. Cool glasses.
Mitt, that was it, pal. Hey, I felt like you had a pretty good day, too. I mean, you didn't get 15 minutes into the show, I don't think.
No, I didn't get to either one of these.
Pretty good day. He had 3 errors, guys. I mean,
3?
What about Ty breaking his ass at one point? That the second hour, by the way.
Yep.
He didn't say Ty scored a goal opening up the show.
No, he didn't.
He also didn't include that I missed the camera shot completely.
On him getting cross-checked.
Yes.
Made him eat some fiberglass, jostled him right into the boards.
Hey, pal, eat a stick, Bob. Hey, a couple stick taps for Ty, not for you, though, Mullet Mitt. Hey, we didn't even get 15 minutes into a 2-hour show there, pal. Hey, stick tap. Hey, stick tap. Mitt, not a bad day for you. Can you forward those minutes to me, though? Because I feel like you're never going to get through the whole thing, and I would like to know what we talk about. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? Great job today, Mitt. Great job today, boys. Hey, boys.
Hey, great job, Pat.
Hey,
Toss
great
me a
job.
stick real quick. Toss
Do
me
you
a
ever
stick.
think Evan's looking at like a blank screen?
Yeah, I do think that. Well, I just want to say for everybody here today, honestly,
Stick taps for the boys.
Hey, stick
Tap it
boys,
up. Tap it up, boys. Tap it up.
that sound like a jackhammer? Nah. That was stick taps because the NHL's back, and so are we. Manana, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. YouTube.com/The Pat McAfee Show. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, which is right down there, I believe.
Nailed it.
Right down here.
Yep.
Subscribe, tell a friend too, and we'll see you manana. This has been The Pat McAfee Show, Wednesday, May 27th from Indianapolis.
Indiana!